that she was not dreaming. "Stop it!" came Eustace's voice, squeaky with fright and bad temper. "It's some silly trick you two are playing. Stop it! I'll tell Alberta." Ow! The other two were very much more accustomed to adventures, but just exactly as Clarence said ow, they both said ow too. The reason was that a great cold salt splash had broken right out of the frame, and they were breathless from the smack of it, besides being wet through. "I'll smash the rotten thing!" cried Eustace, and then several things happened at the same time. Eustace rushed toward the picture. Edmund, who knew something about magic, sprang after him, warning him to look out and not to be a fool. Lucy grabbed at him from the other side and was dragged forward. And by this time, either they had grown much smaller or the picture had grown bigger. Eustace jumped to try to pull it off the wall and found himself standing on the frame. In front of him was not glass, but real sea, and the wind and the waves rushing up to the frame as they might to a rock. He lost his head and clutched at the other two who had jumped up beside him. There was a second of struggling and shouting, and just as they thought they had got their balance, a great blue roller surged up around them, swept them off their feet, and drew them down into the sea. Eustace's despairing cry suddenly ended as the water got into his mouth. Lucy thanked her stars that she had worked hard at her swimming last summer term. It is true that she would have got on much better if she had used a slower stroke, and also that the water felt a great deal colder than it had looked while it was only a picture. Still, she kept her head and kicked her shoes off, as everyone ought to do who falls into deep water in their clothes. She even kept her mouth shut and her eyes open. They were still quite near the ship. She saw its green side towering high above them, and people looking at her from the deck. Then, as one might have expected, Eustace clutched at her in a panic, and down they both went. When they came up again, she saw a white figure diving off the ship's side. Edmund was close beside her now, treading water, and had caught the arms of the howling Eustace. Then someone else, whose face was vaguely familiar, slipped an arm under her from the other side. There was a lot of shouting going on from the ship, heads crowding together above the bulwarks, ropes being thrown. Edmund and the stranger were fastening ropes around her. After that followed what seemed a very long delay, during which her face got blue and her teeth began to chatter. In reality, the delay was not very long. They were waiting till the moment when she could be got on board the ship without being dashed against its side. Even with all their best endeavors, she had a bruised knee. When she finally stood dripping and shivering on the deck, after her, Edmund was heaved up, and then miserable Eustace. Last of all came the stranger, a golden-headed boy, some years older than herself. "Caspian?" gasped Lucy as soon as she had breath enough. For Caspian it was. Caspian, the boy king of Narnia, whom they had helped to set on the throne during their last visit. Immediately, Edmund recognized him too. All three shook hands and clapped one another on the back with great delight. "But who is your friend?" said Caspian almost at once, turning to Eustace with his cheerful smile. But Eustace was crying much harder than any boy of his age has a right to cry when nothing worse than a wedding has happened to him, and would only yell out, "Let me go! Let me go back! I don't like it!" "Let you go?" said Caspian. "But where?" Eustace rushed to the ship's side as if he expected to see the picture frame hanging above the sea, and perhaps a glimpse of Lucy's bedroom. What he saw was blue waves flecked with foam, and a paler blue sky, both spreading without a break to the horizon. Perhaps we can hardly blame him if his heart sank. He was promptly sick.
Hon, somebody stuck closer.
I see that. Are you trying to join the family even more?
Yeah.
Come lay down.
It's me.
Boy. Hey, Reinalf, said Caspian to one of the sailors. Bring spiced wine for their majesties. You'll need something to warm you after that dip. He called Edmund and Lucy their majesties because they and Peter and Susan had all been kings and queens of Narnia long before his time. Narnian time flows differently from ours. If you spent 100 years in Narnia, you would still come back to our world at the very same hour of the very same day on which you left. And then, if you went back to Narnia, after spending a week here, you might find that 1,000 Narnian years had passed, or only a day, or no time at all. You never know till you get there. Consequently, when the I do not like their last name. Pevensie children had returned to Narnia last time for their second visit, and it was for the Narnians. As if King Arthur came back to Britain, as some people say he will, and I say the sooner the better. Reinalf returned with the spiced wine steaming in a flagon and 4 silver cups. It was just what one wanted, and as Lucy and Edmund sipped it, they could feel the warmth going right down to their toes. But Eustace made faces and spluttered and spat it out and was sick again and began to cry again and asked if they hadn't any plum trees vitamized nerve food. And could it be made with distilled water? And anyway, he insisted on being put ashore at the next station. This is a merry shipmate you've brought us, brother, whispered Caspian to Edmund with a chuckle. But before he could say anything more, Eustace burst out again. Oh, what on earth's that? Take it away, the horrid thing. He really had some excuse this time for feeling a little surprised. Something very curious indeed had come out of the cabin in the poop and was slowly approaching them. You might call it, and indeed it was, a mouse. But then it was a mouse on its hind legs and stood about 2 feet high.
It's cheap.
A thin band of gold passed round its head under one ear and over the other, and in this was stuck a long crimson feather. As the mouse fur was very dark and almost black, the effect was bold and striking. Its left paw rested on the hilt of a sword, very nearly as long as its tail. Its balance, as it paced gravely along the swing deck, was perfect, and its manners courtly. Lucy and Edmund recognized it at once. Reepicheep, the most valiant of all the talking beasts of Narnia, and the chief mouse. It had won undying glory in the second battle of Beruna. Lucy longed, as she had always done, to take Reepicheep up in her arms and cuddle him. No. But this, as she well knew, was a pleasure she could never have. It would have offended him deeply. Instead, she went down on one knee to talk to him. Reepicheep put forward his left leg, drew back his right, bowed, kissed her hand, straightened himself, twirled his whiskers, and said in a shrill, piping voice, "My humble duty to your majesty, and to King Edmund too." Here he bowed again. "Nothing except your majesty's presence was lacking to this glorious venture." "Ugh, take it away," wailed Eustace. "I hate mice, and I never could bear performing animals. Oh, they're silly and vulgar and sentimental."
What's that? What's sentimental? What's sentimental?
No.
What's
All right.
sentimental?
Something sentimental is something that is precious to you, it only costs you. It only is valuable for $1. But even at $1, it's worth something to you because your mom or dad or somebody very important that you love gave it to you.
I've been awful. I haven't been showing pictures.
There's a picture.
I do it too.